Yeah, let's go. All right, welcome everyone to the next episode of This is the Waypoint. My name is Chris, aka RumblePack92, and I shall be your host today. Joining me directly above me to my top left is Sir Albob875.
Heyo.
In the middle next to him, of course, is our guest host, Sir Jim Tasty.
Hey guys, what's up?
He's too far away from me, and I can't quite point at it. But in our top right, I don't want to keep using Sir again, but Sir Jordan Deeve. You're all Sirs today.
No, call me a sir. I'm happy. I've officially been knighted.
You're all Sirs today.
Yes.
And then
Queen of
finally,
England no longer has that power.
yeah, it's mine now. Now I just want to go over like to England and be like, yeah, I've been knighted. What's up? And there's nothing you can do about it. Boom. And then, of course, last but not least, directly to my right, Sir, some other Josh.
This is the way.
This is the
And
way.
So is our creed.
Such is our code.
Weapons are my religion.
I always mess up that second.
I think
half,
no, I think you're right. I think they've done it so many times that it's just different. Like every time they say it.
Yeah.
Well, of course, if you don't know, I don't know why you wouldn't know if you're here watching this episode. This is like the fourth or fifth one. I've lost track. If you don't know, go back and watch the other ones because each and every week we review and discuss. I guess more discuss than review every episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. This week, of course, we are talking about Chapter 2, Episode whatever. I can't remember. The Siege. Bernie behind me, she's like, oh my god, Christopher.
Look up the goddamn episode name.
I'm a consummate professional.
Chapter
12?
Chapter 12,
It is
I think,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Episode 4.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I believe it's Episode 4.
Scooby-Doo, episode 4, chapter 12. The
Mhm.
Siege.
Well, as always, I like to start off with general thoughts on the episode. I'm going to go in the same order that I introduced you. Al, what are your general thoughts on it?
Well, I enjoyed this episode. It was a good in between, kind of like we were talking about last week. It was, for kind of in between episode while we're waiting for Ahsoka. I think it was a very good in between episode.
Yeah.
Kind of offbeat episode.
Agreed. Brett, what do you think?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, for a side quest kind of episode, it still actually advanced the main plot and revealed, certain agencies about the villain and maybe some connections to the sequel trilogy or things are what might happen in the future on a larger scale. So it was a great microcosm of small story, but also like implications for the larger narrative.
Yeah, dude. Jordan?
So I'm going to just respectfully disagree with Alec and Brett here because I thought that, as an episode, it was fun, but in terms of what it does, is this supposed to be filler? Because I thought this was like, and this is, what I'm about to say is a little bit hyperbolic, but it's like, what this did for the plot, I think makes every other episode since the pilot look like filler in comparison. I think they're supposed to follow up with this. At least that was my interpretation of the episode.
I have some thoughts on that too, and I'll say it in a minute. What do you think, Josh?
I liked it. It was basically everything we predicted on last week's episode about how they're probably going to go back to Navarro. Is that the
Navarro,
planet?
yeah.
Navarro.
And yeah, just have a fun side mission. But like Brett said, it actually advanced the plot, whereas like a couple of the episodes prior I felt like didn't. And so yeah, overall I liked it. I liked the action too.
I really wish, Josh, just sidetracking for a second, when I was like, what do you think? And you just go, I liked it. I really wish you just stopped there. It's like, I liked it. It was fun.
That's it. I like this episode. No spiders.
Yeah, no
Blue guys
spiders,
back,
so it's automatically best. I actually agree with Jordan. I think going into it, because he starts out where he's like, okay, we're going to go back to Navarro, and my initial thought there was like, it's going to be like a side episode, but that's, I wasn't as like perturbed about it because it was like, we kind of figured it would be.
Yeah.
But then as it goes on, and I mean, there's stuff that's revealed that I'm sure we'll get into very soon, where I was like, oh, this is not a side episode. I was like, there's some big ramifications here. And so
Absolutely.
I really like that. Shout out to all of like the action set pieces in this episode too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just everything looks
Yeah.
fantastic. It's
thing.
very well choreographed.
I do want to say is that tank versus speeder bike chase reminded me of like the scenes from Rebels, like where they do
Yeah.
that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make a great point. And I mean, just talking about the tank thing, and you know what? Let's just get
Well,
into let's just get into legitimate episode discussion. So I'm gonna start with that. Then I loved that whole tank chase scene because immediately, anytime speeder bikes are involved, I'm in. I love speeder bikes. They're just the coolest things in the world.
1,000%.
When they crash coming down the hill,
Oh my god, dude, that one guy didn't
love
even
that.
make it.
took out like 3 other people with him.
I love how much they lean into the incompetence of stormtroopers still. Like it's so
Yeah.
great to me.
Well, they're
It's so
almost like
great.
tongue in cheek about it in this show.
Yeah,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
because they're very incompetent in the show.
As well as last week, they're like can't hit the side of a bantha.
Yeah, and shout out to that first stormtrooper that he dropped because I really like that they didn't use like a Wilhelm scream, but it was an actual dude just going ah,
Yeah,
like it was so
Yeah.
much funnier
Mhm.
that way.
I expected the
Yeah.
Wilhelm scream, but then it was actually just a guy. Ah! Like it was fantastic. That whole scene was amazing too. With the blue guy who's sitting there's like, there's no guardrails on this thing, which I love, dude.
And he just wanted to stay in the car the whole time.
Can we
That
just
dude
talk
made a
about?
return, man.
Can we just talk about Star Wars architecture for a second? Why does the Empire refuse? Why is the panel that controls this whole thing on the outside facing the lava without anything protecting you? And the walkway's like
Exactly.
that big.
That is terrible.
That's the most Star Wars ass thing I've ever seen in my life, and I love
It's
it.
literally just to make the plot more, like, or make it more tense.
Yeah.
That's literally
Yeah,
it.
Exactly.
Because if they have all, you know, if you work there, if it's your 9 a.m. job, you have all the time in the world to get to your position. If
Yeah.
someone needs to get there in a second, it's like, oh, now we have a challenge.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
That's
I,
true. yeah.
I also did. Again, talking about that guy falling though, it's just the comedic timing on this is fantastic. Where he falls off and then it cuts back to that little guardrail, and those two
inside.
stormtroopers are
Yeah.
seeing, and he just falls like through. You get that that fantastic like Doppler effect of him like going
Right.
down. Like it's so good.
I feel like with the Empire's ethos, or I guess the Imperial remnant at this point, like if you fall down that pit, you probably weren't meant to work there anyways. You
Oh,
probably
yeah.
weren't.
Fair point. Fair point.
Oh, yeah, because
Feel-
that's what makes you unqualified in the Empire. That's the
Hey,
level where
I'm just trying to read it into there's I'm not saying that's what I would do, but
And I guarantee
Easy
you,
to
there's something out there that says something like this because again, it's Star Wars and there's a reason for everything.
Oh, yeah.
There's always some in-universe explanation for all the stupid stuff that Star Wars does. To circle back around to that tank scene though, too, it's like one, I love speeder bikes, and two, I love TIE fighters, and I mean, it's just.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's so easy for them to just put a TIE fighter in and have it look cool. And damn it, it
Mhm.
works. I love it every single time when they fly up out of a thing and start like shooting down and they're making passes on it. I was like, this is so cool.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
One
It's
thing I
just
thought was
that classic Star Wars, swashbuckling action where
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mhm.
in that little ravine. They can't totally get down there, so they have to kind of pull back a little bit. It's they're zipping around, so they're targeting Peter, aiming like
Mm-hmm.
that was just so it was fun to watch.
Now, I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on this. Like when Carl Weathers' character, when he's trying to blast the TIE fighters.
Grief Karga.
My thought was he was shooting like at the rocks and stuff to try and have the rocks come down. and
That's
hit
what
the
I
TIE
thought.
I thought he
fighters.
was doing
But
that. Yeah,
apparently he was missing. He was just
1,000%.
doing that
he
badly.
was just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was
see-
doing that on purpose.
I see why you'd think that because if you look on his display, there's something that looks like an asteroid in the square.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like a blink and you'll miss it moment.
Yeah.
Shout,
But like,
But yeah.
yeah.
shout out to that scene too, because this episode was directed by Carl Weathers.
Mhm.
And it's like one, it just looked great, but also I love that Grief Karga is the one that gets like this cool action set piece. Just so happens to be the episode that Carl Weathers is directing.
Yeah.
Because like
But then-
if it was me and I was in the show and directing it, I'd be like, yeah, give my character something really cool.
Exactly.
He
Like,
even
when
gave himself
the
some one-on-one
turret's stuck.
video time at the beginning too.
Hmm. But when the turret's stuck, when the stormtrooper's about to like drop the grenade in there,
Oh
and then
yeah.
it turns around and he's
Oh,
just like,
yeah.
"Oh, hi there."
Boom.
I thought the turtle wasn't even going to be able to turn around. I thought it was kind of just locked in
Like
like
a
reverse.
180 kind of thing, not a 360.
Yeah, but then I was like, oh
Right.
yeah, he's toast.
Yeah, just overall,
That was
like
a great shot.
the comedy in that episode was fantastic. Like just beginning to end. I mean, it's again like you're saying, like that scene at the beginning when Griff like takes the child and he's talking to him. He's like, "The man will take good care of you," and then like that was fantastic. I mean, the cold open, amazing.
Oh, the shock to
Oh,
the
yes.
child.
We're just trying to get
I
the
couldn't
child to
help
put
but
the
laugh.
wires together. Oh my god.
When he got shocked, I couldn't help but
I
laugh.
know, so
Yeah.
funny.
I know.
Have you guys noticed that the characters are starting to like actually address Baby Yoda like directly instead of talking to other people and saying the child, you know, blah blah blah. Like they're actually like, hey, like put this, connect this red wire,
Yeah.
which totally
Right.
reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy.
I
dude.
was 100%. It was like, this is like a baby
100%.
Groot scene.
Yeah,
Like that's what it
dude.
made me think of. It was just so great because he's looking at it and he's like, take the blue one and put it where the red one was, and he like starts to put them together. He's
Yeah.
like, no, 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 no.
Also, like the effects on. I mean, I know it's not an animation, but the movement during that part for the puppet was very good. Like I was kind of impressed. I think it was one of the more intricate movements we've had it do.
1,000%. Shout out to like the scene after that too, where they're both like bonding over some soup or whatever, and like Mando's like lifting his helmet up. Because I've always thought about that, and they're finally just show it.
They're just showing it. It just kind of.
Exactly.
I wonder if that was intentional after his run-in with Cobb Vanth and then also with Bo-Katan. Because I'm just reading into this, but you never see that kind of shot at all until now,
Right.
and now he's it's just lifting
makes
his helmet
sense.
up. You can't really get a direct.
So
look
I
at his
really
face.
like that moment for two reasons. One, it's just kind of a fun little bonding moment. And there's kind of a humor in him like constantly pulling it up and then putting it back down
Yeah.
and then pulling it up like every time he wants to take a sip.
Exactly.
I love that you can still
He's,
hear
like,
like
trying
the
to,
you can
like,
hear like
get
the
your
lock
feet.
release every single time. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so they can go in space.
Yeah.
They can go, which we knew from Rebels and stuff, but
yeah.
this show confirmed it.
But I also like that because I mean it's been hammered into us like so many times because they'll even show it like in the previously on the Mandalorian parts of showing that clip of the blacksmith being like, have you ever removed your helmet or had it removed from like in front of somebody else? And so I mean I think it's again just kind of it's a great way to really show the relationship between him and the child like progressing more because he's willing to pull it up a little bit in front of him because I mean yeah, like you mentioned in all the scenes previously where the child was eating, he didn't.
Yeah.
I
Wait for
could
him
be
to
wrong,
get done.
but I feel like last season there was like a line that hinted at the fact that he's taken it off in front of the child because that's different. He views it as I don't know. I want to
It's
say
any
it's,
living creature. He hasn't
Yeah.
taken it off in front of.
Yeah, is any living creature.
Yeah.
You have that scene in I believe it was the third or fourth episode of the previous season where
the one with
he
the
was-
AT-AT.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where he was
fourth.
talking to the woman in the village, and she's like, well, how do you eat? He's like, well, I eat by myself, you know, like
Yeah.
he's like, I just wait until I'm private, and then that's when I take my helmet off.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, yeah, just I think just having that scene both for like the kind of the humorous and the nice moment, but also it's a little bit of character development. I think is just very
It is, yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
Very, very smart. Shout out also to the school on Navarro
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
because I love that they just drop them there and like, all right, see ya.
yeah.
Yeah.
I put a note. So I thought the students' pads, like the things that they were using, kind of looked like repurposed Wii U's or the tablets.
They did a little
Finally
bit.
put the Wii U to good use.
I
Am
know,
right?
right?
Right.
Finally making some
Yeah.
good out of it.
I really like how they were like, oh, we need a snack that's supposed to be a distant, faraway galaxy, and it's a macaroon.
It's macaroon.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, how do I get those like right now? Like
It exploded all over the child.
Star Wars, the Galaxy's Edge online trading post thing, man. I gotta get
Yeah.
an order in.
I know, right? I mean, I like that they're still very much like a kind of like spacey kind of green, but they're just cookies. They're macaroons. Like it's like, look, if it ain't broke, whatever. It's the
The
last
macaroons are
two
good.
episodes we've had moving tentacle soup, but
Yeah,
macaroons.
macaroons. Yeah.
Exactly. Just make
I
it a
love
fun
that-
color,
I love
Ship
that
it.
whole
Bit of a
scene
lower
though
bar.
too, because again, very very funny of the kid of the child stealing this kid's cookies.
Did the kid do anything about it? He kind of just looked
He
at
just
him.
looked
and then
at him.
The
Mhm.
scene cut
I think
away.
The kid assumed, I think, that he reached over because the
Yeah.
kid wasn't looking. The kid had no idea he used the force.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And again, also to touch on the humor of it, because you get that absolutely badass scene of Mando flying back in with the fixed Razor Crest and fighting the TIE fighters and doing like the
Oh,
like
dude.
the cool like drift and then spin move, and then right after that spin move he looks over at the child and he just throws up.
Yeah.
So great.
Very Baby Groot-esque. Yeah.
Very Baby Groot,
1000%.
yeah.
Yeah, that reminded me
Almost
of
like recreated.
Force Awakens when
Mhm.
Rey and Finn get the Falcon up
Oh,
for
yeah.
the first time, and
Is
they're kind
it-
of like drifting.
I was gonna say, yeah, because it did that thing, because you get the similar shot to where like the back end of it like swivels like in front of the camera like that, and it's just
Yeah.
so sick.
Yeah. Some of the
Mhm.
best dog fighting in Star Wars, I'd say, and like even the over the shoulder shot, like from the cockpit where he's just like flying
Oh
over
yeah.
the Tie Fighter and stuff like that. It was all just.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. When they're
chef's
at like at a distance and they're just flying like directly at each other,
Yeah,
and
together.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
yeah.
And then
I
Baby
just-
Yoda
I
just has his
saw that.
arms up. He's just flying. He's just there for the ride. I love it.
I forgot about that. Yes, it's so good. It is very Guardians of the Galaxy. You're not wrong, but it
Yeah.
works. It
it
works.
is.
Mhm.
Exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Just steal it from James Gunn.
I know we're kind of jumping all over the place. I did want to bring up that hallway getaway scene with the 2 planes of action. That was
Mhm.
so cool. Like how well that was
Yeah.
shot and edited, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well-
and I mean, I feel like we've had like a solid 3 or 4 like hallway fights at this point. It's kind of
Mhm.
it's becoming like a Mandalorian thing, but they're always so good.
Mandalorian's going to
Exactly.
take the title from Daredevil away.
I was just thinking about
Yeah.
Daredevil actually.
I don't know. Those are
Yeah.
Oh
The
man.
past
Great.
few episodes, though, the hallway fights have been special because they're in Empire things. The architecture and the look, the set pieces are very much like
Mhm.
actually all the trilogies to an
Yeah.
extent. It
Yeah.
has that look, so you really feel
Yeah.
like you're watching a proper Star Wars movie.
Did y'all see the image that's circulating around like Twitter and stuff like that of the like guy, the t-shirt guy in the like,
Yes.
doorway or
I
whatever?
saw that earlier.
So, yeah, so
I sent it in the chat. He's an official character on the wiki. He's
Yep.
Admiral
Exactly.
Blue
I
Jeans.
want that Black Series figure.
Janitor. Yeah, I saw
That's
everyone.
hilarious.
People online were coming up with like all these like Star Wars names for like real words. It was pretty great.
Yeah.
It's such a fun like dichotomy to see how well received like this dude in the background is, as opposed to like the Starbucks cup being in Game of Thrones.
That was
Right.
that was the difference. Was people had fun with it in both cases, but with the case with Game of Thrones, obviously that season wasn't super popping. So
That's
that
true.
people were
Didn't
laughing
think
at
of
it, laughing at it for a different reason. But this is just like, okay, the episode was great, and hey, that's
It's also
Yeah.
It's
one
just a
thing-
production assistant.
people
that just
memeing
Yeah,
about
no.
it.
left
Yeah.
the shot.
It's one thing to tell your actors, don't bring cups onto the set versus a guy who's probably I'm sure that guy has a job and there's a reason that he was supposed to be behind the scenes and his arm slipped through.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I
Mhm.
guarantee he was doing something or just wasn't aware that the shot was going to
That
reach
was the
that
shot,
far.
yeah.
And they'll be able to take him out digitally anyway.
I really hope they don't. I want him to stay.
Just leave him. Just
want
Let's
him
make
to
it
stay.
into like the alien in South Park and we just sneak him into every episode.
He's just in the background.
That'd be
with
great.
Starbucks, with that Starbucks cup, was the logo in that episode? I can't remember.
I don't
Or
think so.
Was it just that like brown little like vest around the cup?
It was.
I think it was the sleeve.
I believe it. Yeah, it had the sleeve and it was the white cup, and so it's like you look at it and you go, oh, I mean it's Starbucks.
Okay.
But I don't think the logo was visible, but I think they still pulled it out anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
People were saying it was Boba Fett looking for his armor, or like Snoke or something. Like,
Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad you
So,
said
there we go.
Snoke. I'm very glad you said Snoke, because of course
Are
we
you?
get a look at this experiment that they're doing in this lab.
Exactly.
And I mean it is very. I've seen some debate on what the creatures in the tanks are. I
Mhm.
feel like it's. I am in the camp of like it's they're working on Snoke clones. Like that's
That
what
was
they're
my
trying
thought, too.
It's gotta be
yeah.
something.
Well, you mean
like that, or-
Palpatine clones because Snoke was a failed Palpatine clone.
We
I
don't
think.
actually know that yet.
So
That was the
so
novelization, as far as I'm aware.
I thought Snoke was I think this term is strand cast, where Snoke is his own character with his own motivations and choices, but Palpatine engineered, kind of like the rule set of what he could do. Like,
Yeah.
so Palpatine created him, but Snoke has a little bit of his own agency, right?
Yeah. Yes. So the idea behind Snoke is very much that where he was created by the Empire by Palpatine, and what we've learned in this episode is that they were or at least have seen in this episode is that they were trying to figure out how to imbue the Force into something that doesn't initially have it.
So I just wanted to interrupt real
yeah.
quick because you're saying that there was debates online.
Yes.
I had a friend that watched the episode before me, and she was just like, I just want you to know before this episode, like, because she watches it with her family, she was like, my dad is very hesitantly optimistic because the writers have proved themselves good, but this is an interesting choice. And I'm like, oh God, what is it? So then I texted her and I went, is this lab doing what I think it is? And she goes, well, what do you think it's doing? I said, they're cloning Palpatine, right? Because that was my mind.
Yeah.
She said, and I'm not sure if this is part of the debates and where this is from. She goes, they're trying to make a Sith army, and that's why you see all the suits at the end.
So that's.
I don't think
that's
they're
something
mutually
I'll touch on.
exclusive. I don't think they're mutually exclusive thoughts. To be fair, I think that there is probably, one plan goes bad, your plan B, stuff like that. But
The suits I'll touch on in a minute because that is something that's going to have a lot of discussion. I'm sure Brett's very excited about that one for a particular reason. But it's I don't know there was less than an army. I do think they were trying to create a new host for Palpatine. Is my understanding that the timeline kind of goes like Palpatine dies, and he's got like this really like he's got that really like shitty clone body that we see in the Rise of Skywalker, and they're trying to make something that's better, but they're having troubles like figuring out how to
Getting
do
a
that
younger
because
body kind of thing.
yeah, because they have to. They're trying to create something that is capable of using the Force, and that eventually, and that's why they needed the child, because they needed. They mentioned in the episode the scientist
Drawing
says
blood.
something about drawing blood, and they needed blood with a high
They
M
need
count.
to get the midichlorian count
Yeah.
from Baby Yoda.
Yeah,
we're bringing them back like it's 1999.
I know,
kids.
right? I like that they said it, but they didn't. It wasn't midichlorians; it was M
Yeah.
count.
Damn word.
Yeah, so they didn't want to kill him. So
yeah.
They're saying
they
hemoglobin
had to
versus
stop drawing
iron.
blood.
Yeah.
And so that eventually leads to the creation of Snoke, but he wasn't. And just the way that it's described is it just feels like extra sinister because he wasn't like puppeted by Palpatine. He was created and influenced by Palpatine, but I don't think Snoke was aware of that. But Snoke was his own being with like you said with his own ambitions and goals.
Yeah,
and
no.
feelings and all
I
that stuff.
definitely
Yeah.
believe in that, by the way.
And then of course that brings us to Rise of Skywalker, where he was just going to use like Rey as a new vessel, and then discovers the dyad, and he could just suck their energy and become whatever whole thing. But I do think that's very cool that we're actually that it's clearly connecting to the sequels in a way that I don't think any of us expected.
No, not at
Oh,
all.
for sure.
Yeah, so my thoughts about that when as soon as I saw those bodies, I immediately jumped to Snoke.
Yep.
But as I thought about it more, just going along with what we've had with the show so far and how it's kind of had its own agency in the Star Wars world, where it's not like, hey, it's not like, it's not like the Battlefront 2 campaign where it's like, hey, here's Luke doing his thing for a second, here's Han doing his. It's telling its own story, and so and I wouldn't be upset if they're like, this is Snoke, this is Palpatine, later down the line, because I love how connected the Star Wars universe is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be super awesome if they continue down the path that they've already gone a little bit with. It's something entirely different, or it's not directly related to Palpatine or Snoke, where obviously Gideon has his own agency. He wants power for himself. I think at this point, because he's not a part of the First Order he got left behind. So
Mhm.
I just wonder if it's just a simple, kind of like a shadow trooper, from Legends kind of thing, just trying to infuse troopers with the Force.
Which I think it could be part of that too. I've seen some people talk about that it's not that I don't want it connected to the rest of the movies as a whole. I think this is a good way of doing it. Just in that it's like I don't know that I want to see like Luke Skywalker or somebody in the show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that'd be cool, but I don't really want that.
Mhm.
I think by I do think it is Snoke, and I think the way that they've handled it is that the bit that Snoke really isn't important to the story of the Mandalorian, but it is cool that it still kind of has that connection because that is at least related to like the Empire's agency and why they wanted the child and why they're after him
Right.
so much. It's
Mhm.
because they're trying to essentially like revive Palpatine.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you guys. Right? I don't want it to be too obvious. The way I'm personally seeing it right now is they're giving us the seeds, and the sequel trilogy is like the flower, to stick with that comparison. So I don't think we're ever going to hear the word Snoke or even the word the First Order in this series. I mean, that depends also on how
I can see
long it runs.
I can see a First Order name drop maybe.
Maybe in like whenever they have a last season thing.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I think we're seeing the start of the First Order, because I even said to my friends, like, oh, I'm surprised that the First Order would have began this early. Like, this is only 5 years later and the sequel trilogy's 30. And she pointed out that, and this is a little bit of a darker history fact, that it's like, 5 years after World War II, Nazis had groups around the world. They
Yeah.
had just fled. And if you want to stick with the analogy that these are Nazis and neo-Nazis, First Order, and the Empire and the First Order, respectively.
It was very heavy-handed in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Yes.
You believe it. You're like, okay, so the remains of the Empire becomes the First Order, and I think we're seeing the start of that.
Yeah, I agree, and it does feel a little early. It's only 5 years after, but it was my understanding that when the first time we get to see the First Order as we know them, like in Force Awakens, like when they make themselves known to the larger galaxy,
Republic.
it's they had spent like a ton of time like outside of like out in the unknown, outside of where everybody else was, and so I think they probably left pretty darn early in order to get to the size that we see them at in Force Awakens by the time they come back.
Because we have to remember the First Order is like a specific group of remnant that had like this secret plan. And so at this point too, right, it's only around 5 years after 6. They're probably still in the unknown regions, just trying to control that space, because who knows what other races, species are out there.
Yeah, they're basically trying to get a foundation built for this.
Yeah.
Organization. And I know that sounds horrible for what's essentially space Nazis, but yeah, like they need a foundation. I
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, basically got to start somewhere.
Now to bring up the suits then that you said, so that's actually, because it's one of my favorite things to talk about.
That's a video game reference.
It is a video game reference, in fact. It's an expanded universe reference. So it is a reference from a good old game called Dark Forces.
Yeah.
Which the moment I saw them, I was like,
that one.
the moment I saw them, I was like, oh, Brett's gonna like this episode because I mean it's a Kyle Katarn game. I know his favorite character is Kyle Katarn. But the whole idea was that they're technically, so they were called Dark Troopers, which is very, very early '90s Star Wars naming, right? It's just called Dark Troopers.
1,000%.
It's like that Eric Andre meme of like, what if it was purple? It's like you see a stormtrooper. What if it was black? And then it's like, all right, Dark Trooper, perfect.
Yeah.
Honestly, I put it was a Death Trooper.
Yeah, that's what I was initially thinking.
So Dark Troopers, for those who don't know what they are, they're essentially just like super cyborg robots.
They were basically droids, yeah.
Right. That just have the stormtrooper look. And there's in Legends there's been different iterations of that, but the first version was just like a super duper like battle droid with like stormtrooper armor.
And they were very strong.
Yeah.
They're very difficult in the game.
Especially with that Doom controls, man.
They were very difficult in the game.
Sorry to interrupt. I think you said it wrong. It's not Super Battle Droid. It's Super Battle Droid.
Super Battle Droids.
Yeah, if Battlefront 1 and 2, the original ones, have anything to say about it.
Watch those wrist rockets.
Those sound effects are engraved in my brain.
You 100 just burned into it. I have watched those wrist rockets, and then to make another like super reference is I just have, for whatever reason, the audio clip of "It's a new lap record" from episode 1 Racer.
Oh, dude,
Oh, I
when I
don't-
watched that a few weeks ago, like, it's just boom, 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 boom.
Also, Watto humming the Cantina theme in the credits after
God.
every race.
I actually love that. I love that.
So when's the small Watto game coming out?
Dude, we need that, man.
How small can he get?
So to bring it back around to the Dark Troopers is yeah, there's like the initial iteration when they were just like super powerful droids. There was a small version of it later where it was like a suit, and if I remember correctly, I think it was like early 2000s at this point. It was an old comic thing. I think they'd had like one person as like the Dark Trooper, but they'd like imbued force powers into him somehow or something like
they
that.
had lightsabers too.
It was wild. It
General
got
Grievous
weird.
style?
It got weird. And so, but it's like seeing that connection where it's like Dark Troopers, and then they're immediately talking about like this experiment to imbue these Snoke clones with force powers. I'm immediately like, oh, they might. It kind of, I think, is starting to really give us the sort of the ambitions of what Moff Gideon's after. Which
Right.
I'd seen somebody I believe on Reddit, he was commenting, is like, I think he's a Vader wannabe. I think he's trying to figure out how he can get force powers for himself, because I mean he wears all black, unlike any of the other officers that we've seen. He's got the cape. He's got a lightsaber. I think he's trying to be. I think he's trying to be Vader.
Yeah.
As someone who hasn't watched Clone Wars, is the Darksaber considered a lightsaber?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, it was to give you a brief history on it, it was a lightsaber that was created by a Mandalorian Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's why the Mandalorians like revere it so much, though. Too, it's actually something that's given to all of the Mandalorian leaders. It's got like a significance in their culture there.
So the new
Isn't it?
canon doesn't follow the rule of only a force-sensitive person can activate a lightsaber, correct?
No, not at all.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. Well, even in episode 5, right? Han turns on Luke's saber. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, true.
Finn
Yeah.
and Force Awakens.
Yeah.
on
Also,
YouTube,
Finn
right?
uses a saber quite a few
Yeah.
times.
Although-
he was
Yeah.
first incident. We just didn't know it at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Did y'all see that the
I wanted to be the Jedi so bad.
Lego,
I know. I did too.
Star Wars holiday special is Rey teaching Finn like as
What?
a Force user?
I haven't watched it
yet.
yet.
Yeah.
That's
haven't
like the
watched it
crux
yet.
of it.
The Lego
How
holiday-
canon is it?
I don't
It's a
know.
Lego-
I don't think it's
It's a
canon.
Because don't they time travel?
There's
too
a
and
time
stuff?
travel, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get that
that as well.
fantastic joke in the trailer of they go back to Tatooine, and Vader's like, "My son," and everyone kind of looks around and he goes, "I mean those twin sons." It's so great.
Yeah, I gotta watch
I
it.
saw the
I'm kinda saving
trailer, and I almost wish it was two separate movies of like one being a holiday special of like, hey, let's try to get this right this time, and then one of just time traveling and all the different all the different trilogies. I mean, coming together.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be pretty fun. I haven't heard anything bad about it yet. I know it's out. I think already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been waiting till after Thanksgiving to really
Mhm.
deep, dive into Christmas stuff. Although I believe my wife is gonna be decorating tonight.
Nice.
Right.
Normally I'd be against it. I'd be like, no, not until after Thanksgiving. But you know what? It's been a year.
It's been a year.
Yeah.
It's only
Yeah.
what, a
Thanksgiving's
month.
late this year, so
It's been a year. We're gonna make a fun little like snow scene with all my Star Wars toys. It's gonna be dope.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. But yeah. So I think the Dark Trooper again. It's Mandalorian fans. We eating good out here, right? I mean, it's we got Ahsoka coming next. I mean, they're dropping Dark Troopers. We've seen Snoke.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just this has been a stellar season so far.
Yeah.
the Razor Crest is back.
Yes.
The Razor Crest
Yes.
for now.
1000%.
Yeah, until
now.
next
Back.
episode.
Hold that thought, Alex.
Yeah. And being tracked by Moff Gideon.
Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Oh
so
yeah.
Now that Mimbanese. Now that Mimbanese like engineer.
Corridor.
I couldn't tell if it was a guy or a girl.
I think it was a
guess
girl.
Okay.
Not that it matters. The one Mimbanese that we've seen in Squadrons, I believe, is non-binary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they put the tracker in there, so he could show up at any point. So
Mhm.
That's true. Yeah.
1000%.
Yep.
I'm glad
Right,
that we've
see-
already seen him a bit though, because I was very
Brain
upset
blast.
that we weren't going to see Gideon until
Brain
like, the end
blast.
of the season. Brain
Brain
blast me.
Okay, so now that he's tracking, when he goes to Ahsoka, you're gonna
Lightsaber
see Ahsoka see when he's using the dark saber, and that's gonna be our connection to Sabine.
Oh,
If we get Sabine in the show too, man.
But no, I'm just saying
Yeah,
that
Sabine,
because
yeah.
Ahsoka's gonna be like, hey, if Sabine's not with her,
yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
it's gonna be like, hey,
What happened to
I know
Sabine?
who had that. What happened to Sabine? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I,
my
I
God.
I feel like
thought
that's
about
gonna
that.
kick off
Well,
an
no,
entire thing.
Because in Rebels, Sabine gives it to Bo-Katan. Like she,
Right.
Oh yeah,
she
that's right.
gives it up.
She does, yeah.
True.
It's just like
But
I don't want to
still,
lead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But still,
I
I mean,
know-
I think that's there is still the question of what happened to Sabine. Like we don't know.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, kind of. I think I can't remember which episode it was last or 2 episodes ago where we talked about Sabine and Ezra, where Ahsoka might be. I think it
Mhm.
probably was last episode then.
Yep.
And yeah, because the timeline of the show is kind of vague a little bit, so we'll just get more answers to that probably next week when we meet Ahsoka. I still
wait.
can't believe we're
Oh
gonna.
my
It's
God, I
gotta
can't
be
wait.
next week.
Did y'all see that it's already confirmed though, like the episode title and everything?
Was that real? Sometimes I
No,
see
I-
that
I
stuff
didn't
on
see it.
Twitter, and like,
Apparently, 58 minutes long, longest episode. Title
Oh.
for Jedi.
Yes, dude.
dude,
Yeah,
Yeah,
they had to
that's-
call it the Jedi, right? Like I mean, there was
course.
no
Yeah.
other option.
If I could say that it was the Last Jedi last episode, if a doofus like me could predict it, I'm sure someone would. You know what?
Mhm.
I know some people were being cute and calling it the Citizen and stuff, but most people don't watch
The
Clone Wars,
Citizen,
so-
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
Which
it
would be
would
great, but yeah.
I assume they're using the word Jedi kind of loosely because, like, I mean, it's that whole
Or the
thing. Of, like,
sorcerer,
technically, Kylo isn't a Sith, but like, if I'm gonna call him a Sith, you know what I mean?
right?
And I mean, he wasn't. And I mean,
wasn't a Darth.
technically, she's not. But
Yeah,
Mhm.
but Din doesn't.
That's
know
why I
that.
think it'd be better if it would be called The Apprentice.
the
Yeah,
that'd be
Padawan.
interesting.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, it's like she was a Jedi Knight by the end of Clone Wars. Like she
Yeah.
she wasn't a Padawan. But I mean, it's like again, this is all from Din Djarin's perspective, right? I mean, it follows him. He
Right.
doesn't know that she's not a Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
to him, she's this chick who can move stuff with her mind, like the Jedi that he's heard about before. So that's a Jedi,
Yeah.
Mhm.
a sorcerer. I believe the blacksmith called her in the first season.
That'd be a
She
sick
is-
title, The Sorcerer.
Yeah,
That's true,
She's
yeah.
in the wind, man. The armor, we gotta catch up with her now that Din's catching wise a little bit.
I was really sad we didn't see her. I thought the that scene started out where Cara Dune comes in and kicks a bunch of people's asses. I was like,
Mhm.
is that the Smith area? I was like, what?
And
And then I was just
That-
waiting
that's
for
like
the
a
armor
ferret.
to come out. I was
That
waiting
little
for the
ferret.
armor to come out.
Mhm.
dude,
I
that
did what-
ferret, like
Yeah,
the puppeteering of it was like kind of I don't want to say campy,
It was
but it was
campy.
like, yeah, it was like, but it totally reminded me of like that weird stuff you'd see in like A New Hope or like the original trilogy where
It
like
fits the vibe.
a puppet
Yeah.
would be doing like this weird motion back and forth or something. Like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
like that's just like that's what like, which made me appreciate it because it's not like some CGI fest from like the prequels or something like that.
Right.
And also, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there was like some of the concept. You know how they release like concept art after each episode. In one of the pieces, the ferret was actually like breathing fire.
What?
Yeah.
I missed that. Oh my gosh.
That's
That's
cut
funny.
that budget.
Yeah, it's like Cara Dune's like holding it like out, and it's like breathing fire.
Wow, they
You gotta
crossed
have,
over
like, a
Pokemon and Star Wars.
I know, right?
She's gonna be,
Did we know last season that Cara Dune was from Alderaan, or did I forget that and relearn it?
yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah,
I said, that was
she
a stupid
mentions it.
question from the X-wing fighter. Did you lose anyone?
It's like,
like-
yeah,
I
dude,
know,
all
right?
freaking
The whole
point of,
planet exploded, dude. Who do you think I lost? Come on.
Exactly. It's like,
'cause in
It would have been great if she was just like, actually, no.
Yeah.
Well-
We're all off planet. We're all on vacation. So
in,
we're all,
in the
dudes are
main
fine.
Somehow
run
miraculously survived.
in the comics, there's only like a few hundred left, or few thousand left
Mhm.
or something.
Yeah,
so
because
like,
they were like some off-world colonies.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's like, yeah, most everyone.
But a planet exploded, dude. Come
But
on.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
I do like how they're adding depth to her character,
Mhm.
and then also
Oh, yeah.
like there's like, yeah, a freaking planet got killed, like blown up. Like, yeah, like people are still gonna be talking about it like 5 years
Oh,
later
yeah.
or something, you know? Like,
Mhm.
It technically would have been
Uh,
closer to like 7 or 8, I think, too, because there's a period of about 3-4 years throughout the original trilogy.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Also,
I
this
do
is-
like that the ramifications are still being seen.
Yeah. And this isn't important, but I still think Naboo should have been Alderaan in the prequel trilogy.
I
Just gonna
agree.
put that out there. Don't change anything
Mm.
about it. Just save his Alderaan.
I agree.
Yeah.
Um,
Then we wouldn't have gotten the Naboo fighters.
called
Alderaan
Alderanian
fighters.
fighters. That doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well, Alderanian fighters, but
I love that.
shout out to the new fighters. The N ones are sick. Did you guys ever play Jedi Starfighter?
Yes, but dude, yeah, and then in Rogue Squadron, they're in Rogue Squadron 1.
Yeah.
On NC. They put that ship in like a year and a half before the movie came out. They had like the code in there, and then
Mhm.
like as soon as the movie came out, they like released the cheat code.
It was a
like,
tease.
The original DLC.
like how awesome is that, man? Like,
It was a
That's
tease.
crazy.
Are
you
the
can't do
N
that nowadays.
are the N fighters like the ships that Obi and Anakin are in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith?
No,
Um,
the N ones are the ones that little child Anakin flies in Phantom Menace. The
Okay.
yellow pointy ones.
I can't
Mhm.
remember
This is
what
I had a
Pod
toy
racing.
of that. It
I
was
can't remember
awesome.
what the actual designation of, because I know they're called Jedi Starfighters, but I'm sure there's like an
I think they're
actual
like V3 or something like that.
I really
Yeah,
like
'cause
those
they're-
ships.
'cause
Those
they
have
were-
always
they
been
were-
my favorite.
And I mean, they very clearly became TIE fighters like by the end of it because the
Mhm.
cockpit's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, as far as I know, we're way off Mandalorian, but I don't even care. Star Wars. I actually prefer I liked the way that they like the pizzas in Episode 2. I liked those Starfighters a little better. I just thought they were cool. The one that
And I
Obi-Wan
like it, like-
flies. When,
Oh,
yeah.
It might have
seen
been just a
episode 2 in a
toy, but
minute.
how like the parts could like detach off and it
Yeah.
becomes more like speed
Yeah.
and agile.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did
yeah.
have that toy as a kid too. It was sick. It would shoot
See,
missiles.
For
You
some
press buttons
reason,
on it.
I always just
Go.
thought like that was the Jedi Knight ship, and then when you're like Jedi Master, you got like the better ship. But that doesn't. That was like
That'd be cool though.
5-year-old me just thinking about
That'd
that.
be cool though. So
Yeah.
while we're talking about ships, then I know we touched on it before, but it's like, would you guys want Din to get a new ship, or do you want him to like keep and upgrade the Razor Crest?
I want him to get a new ship the way I see like a dude driving like a '98 Honda Civic now. I'm just like, come on, man, like even a little bit. Like I just feel bad
Just
for
get
the dude.
something.
Mhm.
Because I think we said what 1 or 2 episodes ago. It's like we know that it's like pre-Empire. Like
Yeah.
this shit's from the
Yeah.
prequels.
Yeah.
Basically,
I think
I want
think
to just
oh, so like for me, you know, I'm not opposed to him keeping the Razor Crest because I think it looks cool. It has a cool name, you know. If he got a new ship, you know, hopefully it would be meaningful. So maybe you coincide that with, you know, him abandoning the way, I
way.
guess you would call it.
mhm.
I can't remember what is Bo-Katan, the Watch.
To watch,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, abandoning the specific watch sect of Mandalorian, or something significant happens elsewhere
Right.
in the plot, and he gets a new ship that way.
The,
So then,
Mhm.
the Death Watch question mark?
I just want him to get at least like a great upgrade, like the way I'm trying to think of a comparison, like you know, like Power Rangers.
Like the way his
Zeo,
armor
and
did. Like I mean,
Oh yeah, no.
Oh yeah.
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 Oh, yeah, that makes more sense.
Like
But yeah,
I
just
feel
give
like
him
we
brand
could,
new
see
coat of
something
paint.
cool. Yeah. I did. I
feel like-
I do like it just constantly breaking that because hopefully we can just get more scenes of having the child trying to fix things.
I just want a scene of him coming out from under it on a skateboard, just like grease on his face, and he's like, "I don't know if it's your radiator or your ignition. It's gonna cost you $350."
oh man,
Oh my gosh. All right,
Dang,
boys.
monster.
That dang Loch Ness monster keep asking me for truth. All
That's
right,
sort of
boys.
species.
Well, I
He's
think,
Loch Ness.
yeah, there's just the Loch.
Oh, one thing too I want to point out in the episode was Din actually like used his jetpack like for like I don't know how to phrase it, but like because he used it before in like episode 1 and stuff, but like they were going up the elevator. He's like, oh no, I can just fly to the top like right now. Like I don't need
Yeah.
to go
He
through
used
this
it
whole song.
practically.
Yeah,
So then you
Yeah.
just
it's
drop
like
the stormtrooper down.
That's
yeah,
great.
like I was like, oh yeah, like he has a freaking jetpack. Like obviously
duh.
there's probably fuel to it, so he can't just fly around for ever.
But he has
like,
plenty of fuel on Navarro, so he's just like all day, baby.
Like, you know what? Whatever.
yeah, it was just so cool to
Exactly.
have him just fly up to the top there and start kicking butt early ahead of schedule.
Just
So I
yell
know I
laser
was-
blasts.
I know, so
Yeah.
good. I know. I was trying to wrap up a second ago, but you know what? I just remembered more things I'm going to talk about. So this train keeps on going. I wanted to give a shout out, especially because we were talking about it, actually before we started recording. Just to the that hangar area, the layout of it. I was like, oh, I've seen that exact thing in Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh yeah.
Yo, no
Same.
spoilers, bro.
and so it's just I wanted to give a shout out to how well like their continuity team like keeps up with stuff like that and making sure that the look of
Mhm.
everything is uniform across all of that.
Yeah.
Another thing too, and yeah, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but it just came to my mind
Oh,
was
good.
when they showed those bodies in the tubes. I think they played Snoke's theme from The Last Jedi, and then when they showed I can't remember the character's name, the New Rebellion or New Republic pilot was talking to Kara, and he puts the medal down. They were playing the Resistance theme, so I don't know if that's like if that means oh yeah, because like another great world building little exposition was that New Republic pilot was like, look, we can't like actively like patrol this like
Mhm.
whole sector, the
Mhm.
whole outer rim. Like we need local support to like help with that in terms of just keeping things on the up and up. So I wonder if obviously the resistance is explored in some of the novels and how it's formed, but like I think it'd be super awesome if we start seeing certain individual planets realize, hey, like things are still not cool out here, or things are going down, and they
Mhm.
start to take it onto their own hands and start forming that resistance.
I think having her like kind of joining up with that sort of thing too does set them up for a bit of an easy out because we might not be seeing Gina Carano anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, my thought: did anybody else think that was like a I don't say tracker, but like a listening device, so that way they could hear?
Like they
out.
bugged her.
Yeah. That's kind of my thought because they know that Mando was there, so
Yeah.
they even
Oh,
though they're
yeah.
talking.
100%.
So that's
I
kind of
didn't even
my
consider
thought.
it. I was like, they can't ruin the rebellion symbol with making it like a MacGuffin against the protagonist now. Like, no.
Right.
would
that
be
was
sweet.
that was just my thought. It's like that's got to be like some sort of listening device.
Thanks for crushing my dreams, Alec.
I'm just telling you what came across my mind.
No. I mean, like, it's a fair point because
Well,
we
I mean,
know
hey,
that,
we're
like,
about to get that the spin-off show soon. Unfortunately, I can't remember the character's name, and it hurts me of the dude from
Boba Fett.
Rogue One.
Cassian Andor.
Thank you. Yeah, we're about to get that Cassian show, and I mean, we all know that he did some shady shit.
when
Yeah.
Star Wars hasn't at this point.
You're not wrong.
There's stuff that I
The
like though.
Empire. The Empire's done nothing wrong.
Hashtag Empire did nothing wrong.
Tell me one thing they did wrong.
I know. Just show me an example of something
Exactly.
wrong they did. That's right. You
Exactly.
can't.
They
did a
built
pretty good
crazy
tax
Because I think
Hashtag
station.
Alderaan had it coming.
Oh,
Did you
boy.
lose anyone?
That's,
my
that still
God.
is like crazy to me.
That's so funny.
Did you lose anyone?
I so bad wanted to just be like, no, actually, it's
Yeah.
nobody. Why? Did you? Like,
Wait, she just turns around and like everyone from Alderaan's like hiding in one building.
Exactly. They can only come out one at a time.
like, yeah, this is actually my whole family.
Mhm.
Oh man.
Like how
Awesome.
big cities have like a Little Italy or a Chinatown. It's like they have Little Alderaan.
Little Alderaan. That's a
Those
great
weird
idea.
little planet structures they have, man.
Somebody call JJ Abrams.
Wouldn't be
Or
his
do we
worst
have an
idea.
idea for him?
Last thing I wanted to to kind of give a little shout out to also is the blue guy whose name I cannot remember for the life of me. But
Yeah.
I
Is
love
his
just how
name or
much
Mithril.
Mithril, I
it's-
think, yeah, something like that.
I don't think he actually has a name, but yeah, Mithril. The Mithril.
Mhm.
Just one again, just speaking to the humor, shout out like how much they just shot on him the whole episode. That was fantastic.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was
Exactly.
so funny.
I
So
also
But,
like
funny.
the
My
defense
speed
mechanism.
or-
stuff like that.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about like the speeder moment specifically because it's again it was just I laughed so hard when they drove the tank off and it landed on top of the speeder.
You saw
Right.
it coming.
I know, it
Everybody
is
saw
so
that
funny.
coming.
I thought the lava was gonna come up anyways and melt it or something.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
That's why they had to
Also,
hustle.
I like how Carl Weathers, his character, is just so fine with just giving him decades off his sentence. Like it's just
Mhm.
more of like a carrot to hold in front of him than something he actually cares
Exactly.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the current like he clocks in every day. How many years does he get off for a day's work? Like he's
At
like
the
yeah,
at the
30
rate
years.
he's going.
30 years if you wash your hands after going to the bathroom. It's like,
I was gonna say at the rate he's going, he's gonna be done next week. Like,
Basically.
you know?
Yeah. What was
I
it,
know.
350 years?
Yeah.
something like yeah. And
Yeah.
I love Mando. He dude. What's so great about this show? What's so great about Pedro Pascal as an actor is like you see him look at the Mithril and he's just like, oh fuck this guy. Like,
Yeah, I know, right? He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
not you again.
1000%.
he's like, let me know if this guy runs away or he gives you trouble again.
You know
What do
who
you
I
like,
really want to see come
Spits the
back?
mist out or whatever.
Yeah.
So great.
I do like that. I really want to see. I don't know the actor's name right now, but he was in the pilot episode of the first season. The pilot episode.
Mhm.
He's the guy who drove Mando and the Mithril back.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's,
Yeah,
he's
the
on the
comedian.
Big Bang Theory. He's a heavy guy, big beard.
He's a new girl, also.
Was he?
Did that guy
New Girl?
get
Yeah.
eaten by the like ice monster?
Manticore
in the very
thing?
beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
Yeah.
did he? Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
dead.
He's long
Because that's
gone.
when he freaks out and tries to get
Mhm.
back on the ship.
Never
Right.
mind then.
Right.
Yeah.
One other. I was gonna just say one other little aspect of world building that I liked in this was just like seeing Navarro like actually have vegetation and like starting to flourish
Thriving.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
After
cool.
the Empire has been wiped out, and then the IG-11 statue, like
Yeah.
Yes,
the
dude, yes.
background,
Saw
like
that
they're paying like tribute to him.
Mhm.
That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. In a similar vein to, I mean, it's like you were talking about the speeder pilot that we saw in that thing. It's my understanding that that actor, he's actually like a huge Star Wars fan, and so they brought him in
Mhm.
because he was a huge Star Wars
Oh
fan.
yeah.
But it's the same
Mhm.
thing with that X-wing pilot. Dude's a
Yeah.
I believe that's like, I think he made that suit. Like that's actually
Yeah,
his
wow.
suit.
He's
Yeah.
a part of his local 501st like garrison.
Star
Um,
Wars has always done that because I'm pretty sure a bunch of the First Order troopers were just fans that had
Mm-hmm.
signed
Well,
up.
well,
and
And
if
they,
you-
Well, I
they
don't
did
know
that
about
for season 1.
I was
They
about to
did
say,
that
yeah,
for season
I don't
one.
know about the first story, but I know that like the majority of the stormtroopers that you see in season 1 of Mandalorian are all 501st.
Mm.
yeah, because like you don't really need any real, no offense, but you don't really need the acting skill. They have the costumes, and like now with celebrities that are fans of Star Wars, we're side mission.
So
or,
if you
know,
if you haven't, I highly recommend, and it's on Disney Plus. It's called the Disney Gallery, and it's like
I
a
need to watch
6 or
that.
7 episode like behind the scenes of making of season 1. And I mean, it's
Yeah,
got
I
like
need to
actor
watch that.
roundtables and all that stuff. I actually finished it just the other night because I realized I was like, I never finished going through that whole thing. And so they actually had a whole episode where they talked about that to the point where it was like the way that that the creators kind of describe it is they've been trying to not like directly head on do a lot of like compete with a lot of the stuff that the movies do because it's like we just don't have the budget for that. We can't.
Yeah.
And so it's like you see a lot of them talking about how like all of like the alien choices and the characters and everything are all very specific to try and make characters that wouldn't typically be cool, like pretty cool. One of them described it as being like your older brother took all of the cool action figures and you're left with like IG-88 and Ugnaughts and Blurgs and these things, and
Yo.
you just so happen to get a Boba Fett as well.
IG-88 is cool.
It's fair. I'm just saying that because I mean it's like Ugnaughts and Jawas and like all these things, and then also you have a Boba Fett, and that's what this show
Yeah.
is.
Mhm.
But they were talking about the stormtroopers specifically and how they just didn't have a lot of suits or actors on hand to really fill out the area like they wanted, and so they hit up like the local 501st. They didn't tell anybody that they were filming something. They didn't know until they were on set. They thought they were just coming out for like one of the charity events and things that they do.
Right.
Although a lot of Harrisons will actually work with Lucasfilm for like film events and that sort of thing too. Like almost any like promotional thing that you ever see. If you have a stormtrooper there, that's probably somebody in the 501st. But they brought them out there, and they were like, what was really cool is how well they did it, because these guys are super fans, is we didn't have to train them on anything. They already know how to be stormtroopers.
Well, they're not just dudes with costumes. They're dudes that have studied like the movements and like the phrases.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like when they all run out for the first time, they're already standing like stormtroopers. Like they're all already so coordinated because that's what they do. And I was like, that's really cool, and I guess not something I'd ever thought about. And so they just talked about like how much they liked having the 501st on there, which is really neat.
A lot of verbiage too when they were in the Imperial Remnant base, of like very similar to like stuff that was being said when they were sneaking aboard the Death Star in Episode 4.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like when they were setting off
I
like,
kind of noticed
false
that too.
alarms and stuff. They're like, we gotta check the main reactor.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Like I was like, oh yeah, love it.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that whole segment gave me some like Death Star vibes, especially because I mean, even when one of the doors opened, it was the exact same like door hiss sound that you hear in A New Hope, even like
Yeah.
well, boys, I think we're at about time. That was a great episode. As always, thank you guys so much for coming on here and fueling my desire to just geek out on the internet with other people for a little while.
We're here for
Oh
that.
yeah.
Learned
Awesome.
so much in these episodes.
All right, Josh, where can we
Dark
find you, man?
Troopers. You can find me on all social media platforms, including OnlyFans at Some Other Josh.
Including OnlyFans. That's a new development.
It's in the prop. I don't know.
He's got it in the
It's
pipeline.
nice.
He's laying down the pipeline, if you will. Jordan, what about you, man?
You can find me on
Oh,
Twitter
sorry.
at Jordan_Deeb, and you can find me at OnlyFans at The Blue Mithril.
Oh my
Gotta keep
God.
hydrated.
Exactly.
Yeah, he'll die if you leave him out next to the lava. What about you, Brett? Where can we find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me on twitch.tv/JimTasty. I try to stream every day, just chilling. Relaxing, all cool.
Yeah, shout out to that Fresh Prince reunion that just happened.
Dude, that was so good, man.
Yeah,
I
I
loved
loved
it.
it.
I still gotta watch that.
It's very
Yeah,
good.
same.
Al, what about you, man? Where can we find you?
Find me pretty much everywhere at lbob875 and on Twitch at lbob875, streaming every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Probably not going to be streaming this Thursday, though, because of Thanksgiving.
What?
Good old family time, you know, and football.
And football, yeah.
Yeah, Lions play on Thursday. Yep.
Although they're always the noon game, so
Yeah. And of course, my
I'd
name
be
is Chris.
knocked out. by then.
Yeah, I've been passed out by that point, dude. It won't even matter. Of course, my name is Chris. You can find me on twitch.tv/RumblePack92. You can also find me on Twitter at RumblePack92 and on Utah. But
Utah.
Utah, you can find me on Utah. You can find me at YouTube. Just RumblePack, though. You can go watch the one Halo video that I've ever made. Of course, this is the Waypoint. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
This is the way.
Goodbye.
Bye.